Chapter 1 of The Pirate Island, A Story of the South Pacific. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Pirate Island, A Story of the South Pacific by Harry Collingwood. Chapter 1. The Wreck on the Gunfleet. It was emphatically a dirty night. The barometer had been slowly but persistently falling during the 2 previous days. The dawn had been red and threatening, with a strong breeze from south-east. And as the short dreary November day waxed and waned, this strong breeze had steadily increased in strength, until by nightfall it had become a regular November gale, with frequent squalls of arrowy rain and sleet, which, impelled by the furious gusts, smote and stung like hail, and cleared the streets almost as effectually as a volley of musketry would have done. It was not fit for a dog to be out of doors. So said Ned Anger, as he entered the snug bar parlour of the Anchor at Brightlingsea, and drawing a chair close up to the blazing fire of wreckwood which roared up the ample chimney, flung himself heavily down thereon to await the arrival of the pint, which he had ordered as he passed the bar. "And yet there's a many poor souls as has to be out in it, and as is out in it," returned the buxom hostess, entering at the moment with the aforesaid pint upon a small tray. "It's to be hoped as none of 'em won't meet their deaths out there among the sands this fearful night," she added, as Ned took the glass from her, and deposited his twopence in the tray in payment therefor. A sympathetic murmur of concurrence went round the room in response to this philanthropic wish, accompanied in some instances by doubtful shakes of the head. "Ay, ay, we all hope that," remarked Dicky Bird was the name which had been playfully bestowed upon him by his chums, and by which he was generally known. "We all hopes that, but I, for one, feels uncommon duberous about it. There's hardly a capful of wind as blows, but what some poor unfortunate craft leaves her bones out there," with a jerk of the thumb over his shoulder to seaward. "And mostly with every wreck there's some lives lost. I say, mates, I suppose there's somebody on the look out?" "Ay, ay," responded old Bill Maskell, from his favourite corner under the tall, old-fashioned clock-case. "Bob's gone across the creek and up to the Tower as usual. The boy will go. Always says as how it's his duty to go up there and keep a look-out in bad weather. So, as his eyes is as sharp as needles, and since one is as good as 100 for that sort of work, I thought I'd just look in here for an hour or two, so's to be on the spot, if in case any of us should be wanted." "I've often wondered how it is that it always falls to Bob's lot to go upon the look-out in bad weather. How is it?" asked an individual in semi-nautical costume at the far end of the room, whose bearing and manner conveyed the impression that he regarded himself, as indeed he was, somewhat of an intruder. He was a ship-chandler shopman, with an ambition to be mistaken for a genuine salt, and had not been many months in the place. "Well, you see, mister, the way of it is just this," explained old Maskell, who considered the question as addressed more especially to him. "Bob was took off a wrack in the Maplin when he was a mere babby, the only one saved. Found him wrapped up warm and snug in one of the bunks on the weather side of the cabin, with the water surging up to within 3 inches of him. So ever since he's been old enough to understand, he've always insisted as it was his duty, by way of returning thanks like, to take the look-out when a wrack may be expected. And don't you make no mistake, there ain't an eye so sharp as his for a signal rocket in the whole place. Sees 'em almost afore they be fired, he do." "And did you ever try to find his relatives?" asked the shopman. "Well, no, I can't say as we did exactly," answered old Bill. "'Cause you see, we didn't rightly know how to set to work at the job. The ship as he was took off of was a passenger ship, the Lightning of London, and, as I have said afore, he was the only one saved. There were nobody else as we could ax any questions of, and, the ship hailing from London, there was no telling where his friends might have come from. There was R.L. marked on his little clothes, and that was all. So we was obliged to content ourselves with having that fact tacked on to the yarn of the wrack in all the papers, in the hope that some of his friends or relations might get to see it. But, bless your heart, we ain't heard nothing from nobody about him, never a word. So I just adopted him, as the sayin' is, and called him Robert Ledgerton, arter a old shipmate o' mine that's been
Sample complete. Ready to continue?